Setting up EXPO and a Radiolink transmitter is a little different than setting up EXPO and the other transmitters that I've used. So I want to go over that. So what we want to do is we're going to model settings, and then we want to go into rate and curve. All right, and here's where you set up. You select your channel, 1, 2, or 4. Of course, channel 3 is reserved for throttle. So you're seeing channel 1 aileron, channel 2 elevator, and channel 4 is rudder. Okay, so we're just going to use our aileron channel as an example here. You can see that the type I've got set up is EXPO, and then there's curve, and I think that's variable rate. I can't swear to what the center one is, but I think that's what that is. All right, so and dual rate right now is set up for 100%, so you're going to get full movement of your servo. All right, so if we move our aileron stick, and I want you to watch the numbers over here, okay? Not the bottom number, but watch the number over here. This is going to show your output, right? So it's completely linear because we don't have any EXPO in. So at the center position, it's 0. And as I put in 15%, 10%, 20% of the stick, that's how much deflection you're getting or movement of the servo, all the way up to 100%. And pushing it to the left, you're going to see the same thing. It's completely linear. Now, what EXPO does, and what I normally set EXPO up for, is to smooth out the stick movement, control surfaces near center stick. So it's the curve is going to be flatter at center stick to make the control movement surfaces less abrupt. You know, they're going to move very little closer to center stick. The lower they're going to move, the less they're going to move. All right. And so when I get about halfway, then it's really going to increase dramatically from there, between 50% stick to 100%, deflection. But it makes it a lot easier to control plane if you flatten that curve out close to mid stick, about 25% of your stick in either direction. So I'll show you what happens if we put in positive number, which is what you would normally do. So let's say we put it in 60%. We'll go with 70, just to make it a little more dramatic. We'll go with 70% EXPO with a positive number. Okay, so we've got 70%. So you see what the curve did? It actually increases at center stick and then levels out a little bit toward full stick. Okay, so if you watch this number now, when I move the stick to the right, I'm moving it very little. I'm definitely not 25% of the way across, but I'm getting 25% movement in the servo. You see that? So if you look down at the bottom, you see how much of the stick movement I'm providing compared to the amount of movement it's going to provide the servo. So you've got stick movement on the bottom. Your servo movement is going to be in that center number. So like right now, if I go 7%, I'm getting almost double that in movement in the servo. If I go to about 50%, I'm getting 67% movement. And then as I go up, of course, it starts flattening out a little bit. But it's very dramatic going from center stick to about 50%. You're getting quite a lot more movement in the servo than what you're providing on your stick movement. And same thing in the other direction. All right, so now if I go back and I change this from a positive 70 to a negative 70, okay, now we're at negative 70 EXPO on our aileron. And you see what happened to the curve here? The curve is now flatter at center stick and increases more dramatically as you get to full stick deflection, which is what you want if the reason you're putting in EXPO is to make it less twitchy close to center stick. That's what I always use it for. So now watch what happens if we move 14% there, and we're getting about, 6% of movement in the servo. So it's just the opposite of what we had before, because the curve is absolutely opposite of what it was showing before. So if I go about 50% stick now, get as close as I can, I'm only getting 33% of movement in the control surface. And then the closer I get to full stick deflection, the more those numbers equal each other, okay? And the same thing in a negative direction. If I go 50%, about 50% on the stick deflection, you'll see I'm getting minus 32 in the servo movement, which is what you want. You want this, if you're wanting to smooth out your controls, you want less servo movement than stick movement, within that first 50% or more of your stick movement. You really want more dramatic and faster movement of your control surfaces the closer you get to 100% stick movement. Having an EXPO curve in this fashion will make things nice, make control of the aircraft nice and smooth. But in the Radiolink transmitters, you need to provide negative numbers for your EXPO in order to smooth out the controls at center stick. The Radiolink transmitter is the only one I've used so far that requires negative numbers on EXPO rather than positive numbers on EXPO to provide the exact same effect. Okay, so be aware of that. If you're using a Radiolink transmitter and you don't understand why when you set up EXPO it doesn't seem to be smoothing out your controls, that is why. All right, that's why you've got to put in a negative number for EXPO. All right, so hopefully a lot of people benefit from that because it certainly confused me. That is a wrap on this episode. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time in the Tinkerz Lab.